Okay guys, so welcome back to the channel, and today what we're going to be talking about is my top 10 lessons from my 10-year physique transformation. But first of all guys, if you haven't already, head over to the link in my description and you can download a free transformation timeline which basically has every step of the way to achieve a body transformation like mine, and it lets you know exactly what you need to be doing based on exactly where you're at in your journey. It's free to download, so just head over to the description, the link is there. So, if you're new here, you're probably wondering, who the hell is this guy and who is he to tell me how to transform my physique? So, I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. This was me 10 years ago, and this was me about a month ago. Okay, and that is my transformation over the last 10 years. Now, I've been training over 15 years now, and round about that first photo, I was about 20 at that point. I just started taking my training kind of seriously. The first few years of training, I didn't really know what I was doing, and then round about this point, I had actually competed in natural bodybuilding the year before, and that was me getting ready to start my second competitive season. I was a junior, obviously didn't have a lot of muscle back then, and we can see over the last 10 years, I've put on a lot of muscle. One thing I do regret is I don't know exactly what weight I was in that first photo. It would be good to know, and then you can obviously figure out how much lean body mass I've added on. But anyway, you live and you learn. And yeah, going forward, we'll know exactly where we were at every stage. But in today's video, what I'm going to be telling you guys is 10 lessons that I've learned along the way as I've transformed my physique naturally. So lesson number 1, truly transforming your physique, it takes a lot of time. As you guys have probably already realised, I'm showing you my 10-year transformation. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's going to be something that you're going to be working on for years. It's not going to be the sake of weeks or months. It's going to be years. So you need to prepare yourself for that from the offset. You need to have a long-term mindset. We all live in a world where people do things for the here and now. They do the things that gives them that instant bit of like kind of, you know, achievement, or that instant bit of what's the word I'm looking for, satisfaction. But a lot of people can't think into the future, and a lot of people can't contain themselves now to do something that's going to pay off in the future. And if you want to truly transform your physique, you've got to become that person that is going to do something now that your future self will thank you for. So lesson number 2, off the back of that one, comes in quite nicely, is that motivation across that time will come and go. It's only natural. Every single person that does a body transformation is going to come up against periods of low motivation. I've went through them myself. I get them from time to time even still. You know, there's a lot of times I could be sitting in the gym, having done some work there, and knowing I need to train, and sitting there feeling like I can't be arsed training. You know, I can't be arsed moving and actually getting up and training. And it's only natural. Look, no one's motivated all the time. But what I will say is, first of all, we need to rely on discipline. You know, you don't wake up motivated to brush your teeth. You just do it because you're disciplined, because you know what will happen if you don't do it, right? You have some stinking, rotten teeth. But it's the same with your physique. You know, if you don't do the training, well, what's the downside of that? What is it you're actually trying to avoid? And is that worse than putting yourself through the thing you don't really want to do at the time? And another thing to add to that as well is, like, you know, it's very cliche, but like, no one ever regrets a workout. No matter how you feel going into it, you always feel better after it. But the thing is with low motivation is when people give into it, it only gets worse and worse and worse. And the best thing you can do with periods of low motivation is just fight it. Just fight back, force yourself to do what you've got to do, and eventually that low motivation will fade. Number 3, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. This is a big one because a lot of people lose motivation when they maybe feel like they're not hitting their targets the way they should be, when they feel like they're not giving it 100%. I hear that quite a lot. Oh, I'm not going to be able to give it 100%. It's like, well, do you think for the last 10 years I've been putting 100% into my physique? Absolutely not. I'd imagine if I could have done that, I would have got better results. But we live in the real world. We have jobs, we have families, we have other things going on, we have social lives. So the fact is, you're never going to be able to 100% commit. That time does not exist. That is just a fairy tale. And if you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not going to do it because I can't 100% commit to it, well, that's never going to happen. It's just an excuse. You ultimately just need to be consistent. Be as good as you can, obviously. You know, be as close to perfect as you can. but just be consistent, because being consistent pays off. And for the last 10 years, that's one thing I've been very, very good at. I've been absolutely consistent with everything that I do. Number 4, environment is key. Don't be the big fish in a small pond. This was something I learned early on in my journey. So when I was training in a small gym in the town that I come from, I got to the point of being the strongest guy in there. There's a few guys in there been kind of eyeing them up and like seeing what they were lifting. I was like, right, I need to outlift this guy in this lift, this guy in this lift. I remember like a guy deadlifting 120 and I'm like, right, I need to get above 120, right? And then one of my mates came along who trained in a bodybuilding gym just 20 minutes down the road, and he said to me, why don't you come down to the bodybuilding gym and try it out? And I'd heard about it. I was a little bit like kind of anxious to go in because I was like, oh, am I ready for this? But I went in and there's guys in there deadlifting like 300 kilos for reps, and you know, it was just like, wow, like you're looking at all of a sudden, like you're not trying to beat the guy that was doing 120, you're now trying to keep up with the guy that's doing 300. And as much as it was an intimidating environment for me to go in at first, it was the best thing I ever done because it raised the standards, it raised the bar, and it made me improve. So again, if you're someone who's watching this and there's maybe like a gym near you and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough for that gym, trust me, it's not like that. Everyone in there is just going to want to help you, and ultimately getting into an environment where people are pushing forward and they're doing more is only going to benefit your physique. Number 5, and interestingly off the back of the last one, I'm going to say don't take advice off too many different people. So when you go into these types of environments, or when you're online watching YouTube, you're maybe watching me and maybe watching a couple other guys, you're going to hear some conflicting advice. You're going to hear a few different like methods for, you know, whether it's dieting or whether it's bulking or whether it's something to do with lifting. And I think ultimately, if you're listening to too many different people, you're just going to get your wires crossed. You're just going to get confused. And the thing is, they might all be right in certain contexts, but ultimately if you're trying to follow all their advice, you're just going to end up confused. So I think the best thing to do is maybe go down a route, whether you've got a coach or whether you're watching my videos or whether you're watching someone else's, and just listen to what they're saying. Go by what one person's saying, right? Follow their advice. See how it works for you, and if you find it's not working well for you, that's when you want to go explore other options. What you don't want to do is take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and just end up confused with what you're meant to be doing. As I say, sometimes you're going to get your wires crossed because things are going to conflict with each other. So just keep it simple, listen to the one person's advice and one trainer. Number 6, which again links back to this last one. Just because someone's bigger than you, it doesn't mean they know what's right for you. Just because someone has managed to get themselves in great shape doesn't mean that they're going to be good at giving advice to other people. Again, it really does link in with that last one, because like just because it's worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So like ultimately, you know, you need to find what's going to work for you, your physique, your lifestyle. You know, you need to find the things that are going to fit in and make things work for you. Yes, there are underlying principles for all this stuff, and I talk about a lot of them in my videos, but like ultimately, like I've met some really big guys who would be shit coaches because they just don't have a clue how to give advice to other people and how to coach other people in different situations. Again, you might be talking to someone who has done bodybuilding for years, stuck to the same foods for years, never had an injury to worry about, and always in like relative good like health that way, and then you know their situation is just like plain and simple, right? But yours might be very, very different. So again, just because someone's bigger than you, it doesn't mean they know what they're doing. Number 7, a good training partner is worth their weight in gold. When I was talking about going from that local gym to the bodybuilding gym, at that time I was training with that guy who took me to the bodybuilding gym, and also another friend of ours, and I would say that those were the most intense training sessions of my life. They were the best training sessions of my life, because ultimately that's where you learned your trade. That's where you learned how to train with intensity. And yeah, like look, since then I've learned a lot about exercise mechanics and how the body works and how to train someone and for the ranges of motion they've got available and like the, you know, the tolerances that they've got. But ultimately, like, intensity is something that needs to be learned too. And back then, I was definitely going through my intensity apprenticeship, you could call it that. And you know, obviously, once you know how to do that, you can obviously apply that. And then as you learn more about how to move well and train well, like obviously you can get that combination of both. Because I feel like everyone nowadays is you know, either one camp. They're either like, you know, intensity and they don't care about form, or they're form and they're not getting the right intensity. Whereas like you need that blend of both. So a good training partner can help you with the intensity side of things. So definitely, if you have someone that you train well with, make the most of that. Number 8, you're going to need to spend a lot more time building muscle than you are cutting. Over the last 10 years, I've spent 79 months in a gaining phase. 79 months. yeah, long amount of time. And cutting, I think it's been about 40 months or something like that. I've not got it in front of me here, but it was something along those lines. And it just goes to show you, like, the muscle that I built, and I've not built that much muscle on the scale of things. There's a lot more people that have built a lot more muscle than I have over the last 10 years, but I've still spent the bulk of my time bulking. And that's something that you're going to need to do, because, like, to cut, you can lose a lot of body fat in 8 weeks, you can lose a lot of body fat in 10 weeks, 12 weeks, right? But you can't gain a lot of muscle in 8 weeks. You can't gain a lot of muscle in 6 months a lot of the time. You know, sometimes you will get people who respond really, really well, and, like, especially with your first bulk, you'll probably get a better response. But I've spent periods of time, like 19 months at a time was my longest bulking phase. And you know, you are just going to have to spend the time. If you're spending any less than 6 months in a bulking phase, in my opinion, it's a total waste of time. Number 9, you don't need to eat clean all the time, but you should most of the time. I think it's a big myth within the industry that you need to, you know, eat clean to get lean. And there's a lot of truth to that. There definitely is. But there can be some flexibility. You don't have to just eat, like, whole foods all the time. You don't have to stick to, like, chicken and broccoli or whatever all the time. It's definitely something that you should think about putting in your diet, but it's not as if that is the case 100% of the time. There is a bit of flexibility, and I'll say to a lot of my clients, like, look, 80% of the time I want you eating nutrient dense whole foods, and then maybe 20% of the time, or 20% of your calorie intake, coming from stuff that's maybe a bit more for enjoyment and it's maybe not so nutrient dense. And again, if you're in the later stages of cutting, I would say that goes more towards 90-10. But when you're, like, in a gaining phase, maybe in the early stages of cutting, then it can be a bit more 80-20. So again, like, it doesn't need to be completely miserable, okay? But certainly the leaner you want to get, the more that split will go in the direction of cleaner foods. So it's something worth bearing in mind. The bulk of your foods should be, you know, quote unquote clean foods, and then obviously just a small amount coming from stuff that is a bit more processed. And again, that's a health thing as well as just like a getting the best results sort of thing. We don't want to just get in great shape, we want to be healthy too, right? And finally, number 10, keep it simple. Don't go chasing shiny objects or looking for, like, a new method or new exercise or things like that. The basics work. You know, the basic principles of getting in shape, getting lean, diet wise, training wise, they're all there for a reason, and people do them for a reason because they work. Now, I'm not saying there aren't, like, new exercise variations out there that are great, but ultimately, you know, I think people who go chasing, you know, oh, I'm trying paleo diet now, or I'm trying, you know, keto or whatever, they're always trying something different. Like, they never try one thing long enough to actually get a result out of it. They never stick to anything long enough to actually, you know, change their physique. So I think, you know, you just need to stick to the basics. Don't go, again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, don't take advice from too many different places. If you're following, you know, one guy on YouTube and he's promoting, you know, X supplement, and another guy's promoting X diet or whatever, and it's like you find yourself just, oh, I'm trying this now, I'm doing this now. There's always that one guy at the gym that you meet, and they're always trying something, and like I say, they're not the guys who change. The guys who change are the guys who do the same thing for years. They know what works and they stick to it and they're consistent with it. And it might be boring, it might be mundane, but they just keep doing it because they're disciplined. They just keep ticking the boxes. And those are the guys that change. Trust me, that's what I've done over the last 10 years. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you've got any questions on any of the points that I made, just leave them in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe, and head over to the link in description where you can download the free transformation timeline.